Welcome to the summary of Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, Book 6 in the Red Rising series. This will be a chapter-by-chapter summary, with an indication of the character's point of view for each specific chapter. Thanks for listening. Let's begin. Part 1. Circus. Chapters 1 through 4. Darrow. Darrow and the other surviving members of the Free Legion, saved by Cassius, are hiding on a trash moon. They are repairing the Archimedes and waiting for Cassius and Ori to return. Unable to communicate with anyone outside their hidden base, Darrow has no idea what is happening in the rest of the solar system. He fantasizes about returning to the war, but feels powerless. The anger that once made planets tremble now feels toothless. He worries that his failure will result in the society rising back to power. Ori left him with a book, The Path to the Veil. He is frustrated by the gesture, but reads it, drawn to its wisdom. Thraxa calls him, telling him and the others on shift to come inside. Before going in, Darrow looks toward his home, Mars. The group worries about the lack of updates on the war. Together, they share a sea of worry under the dim chemical lights. Darrow goes to Harnassus, where they discuss Cassius and Ori. He then goes to Screwface, who has been closely surveilling the area for Atlas Ur-Ra, the Fear Knight. Darrow confronts him about his bitterness, ordering him to stop complaining in front of the soldiers. Leaving Screwface, Darrow practices fighting while a computer reads The Path to the Veil in Virginia's voice. Afterward, he records messages for Virginia and Pax. The proximity alarm sounds. Screwface announces a Votum ship approaching. Darrow joins Thraxa to prepare for the incoming ship, but Screwface reveals the newcomers are Cassius, Ori, and other friends, including Colloway Char. Colloway tells them that the Republic still holds Mars, that Virginia, Victra, Cavax, and Kieran are alive, that Safi is dead, that the Obsidians and Askamani are being led by Volsung Far, and that the Free Legions on Mercury have been either killed or enslaved. Cassius announces he has brought helium to power their ships, and that Sevro has been sold at an auction. Darrow watches footage of a mangled and terrified Sevro being sold to Apollonius Alvalirath, the Minotaur. Apollonius bought him to lure Darrow to the dockyards of Venus. Darrow wants to save Sevro, but the others want to return to Mars. Privately, Cassius and Ori agree to help. Cassius admits his guilt over having relished his life as a gold in the society. Thraxa and the others catch them trying to sneak away. Though they try to stop him, the soldiers begrudgingly let Darrow pass. Thraxa gives him her razor. Bad lass. Chapter 5. Lysander. Lysander is forced to host games on Mercury. Glyrastes, the master maker, notes how the people love him. Roan, dux of Lysander's soldiers, complains about the expense. Later, Glyrastes admits the games are costly and the guest troubling. Lysander insists he is not being manipulated, revealing he has secretly been sending fleets to Apollonius. Glyrastes implores him to focus on rebuilding Mercury. Lysander argues he needs more power. At a chariot race, he seeks the support of the Carthii family, a major Venusian house. Valeria Carthii wants the dockyards, which were given to Apollonius, returned to her family. Cicero Carthii prepares to race, though he is not supposed to participate. Chapter 6. Darrow. Darrow, Cassius, and Ori fly the Archimedes toward Venus, cloaked by the ship's stealth hull. When they arrive, Darrow and Cassius disembark, while Ori takes the ship to plant an atomic weapon in the dockyards. Before leaving, Darrow speaks with Ore. She hints at an ulterior motive for joining them, saying she is here for Sevro. That it is not the whole truth, but it is all the truth that matters. Darrow and Cassius jump from the ship into the dockyards, entering an arcade for greens, the technologically skilled low-color cast. They coerce a green into pulling up surveillance footage to locate Sevro. But when they reach the cell, the prisoner is an imposter. They are captured by Apollonius. Chapter 7. Lysander. After Cicero wins the chariot race, Lysander congratulates him gently, careful not to tread on his spirit. Cicero warns him to be kinder to Glirastes, who is racked with guilt for helping Darrow use the storm gods to engineer a catastrophic storm on Mercury. Tharsus arrives with news that Apollonius has captured Darrow and Cassius. Lysander is shocked, having believed his old mentor dead. That night, he meets with Helios Au Lux, a fanatical gold commander, and Diomedes Au Ra, the storm knight. Diomedes admits he spared Cassius out of respect. Helios and Diomedes are heading to a summit held by Atalantia. Helios resents the war, wanting isolation in the rim. Atlas joins them, his presence unknown to Lysander. Troubled, Lysander invites him to the launch of the Lightbringer, his renamed flagship, once Darrow's morning star. Atlas declines. He sends Kyber to follow Atlas. The next day, Lysander tells Glirastes that Darrow has been captured. Chapters 8 and 9. Darrow. Darrow, treated well, and Cassius, beaten, are taken to Apollonius, who commands a surprisingly large army. Apollonius refuses to bring out Sevro and declares his desire to duel. Darrow threatens him with the hidden atomic bomb, but Apollonius's soldiers have already found it. He pours out Martian soil for their fight. During the duel, Darrow struggles, frustrating Apollonius. Apollonius watches him almost with heartbreak. As Darrow goes to finish the fight, a bomb detonates. A smiling Apollonius dispatches soldiers to investigate, and Darrow realizes Sevro escaped. Asmodeus Carthii calls Apollonius, announcing the Carthii family's revenge for the dockyard bombing. Apollonius prepares for battle. Darrow and Cassius follow him, but are trapped in a hallway as Carthii forces approach. Berserker fighters, highly trained obsidian warriors, attack. Darrow and Cassius fight through until Sevro arrives in a starshell, massive mechanized armor, helping them escape. They call for Ore, who comes with the Archimedes. Chapter 10. Lysander. Lysander hosts a ceremonial launch of the Lightbringer. With Pytha piloting, the ship successfully launches. Glirastes introduces Lysander to Pallas Greca, who has come in Julia Bellona's stead. Julia, prioritizing her alliance with Atalantia, is a powerful gold matriarch and the mother of Cassius. Roan calls with news of the attack on Venus. Lysander admits to Lyria that he gave Apollonius forces to keep her from killing Tharsus, Apollonius's brother. He promises her the dockyards if she keeps his secret. She agrees. Atlas and his Gorgons arrive. Atlas theatrically kills Tharsus and orders Lysander to report to New Sparta. Glirastes begs him not to go, but Lysander agrees, parting tenderly with him. Lysander leaves with Atlas and is beaten by the Gorgons. Chapter 11. Darrow. Darrow feels both tension and comfort with Sevro, who is thin, haggard, and wears a necklace of decaying ears. Sevro talks of escaping Apollonius and killing people, but he refuses to describe the torture he and his Howlers endured from the clone of Adrius Au Augustus. Cassius joins. Sevro shows hostility toward him for killing Fitchner, his father and creator of the Sons of Ares. Darrow intervenes. He also apologizes to Sevro for forcing him to choose between following Darrow and staying with his family. Sevro understands, but does not forgive. He explains that he can no longer fight, describing the horror of watching his Howlers tortured and killed. He tells Darrow that they smelled like burning flesh, and that he lost them all. Ore joins them and gives Sevro a holocube from Athena, leader of the Daughters of Ares. The message calls for him to take his father's place, including a recording of Fitchner urging him to step into the role. Ore, herself a daughter of Ares, admits she lied, but explains she knows little, having been deep undercover as a servant of the Ra family. Later, Darrow stays with Sevro, reading until he falls asleep. He then finds Cassius, who urges him to keep his spirits up, and reminds him Virginia still believes in him. Darrow encourages Cassius to stand up to Sevro. Cassius offers to help Darrow train for battle. Part 2. Rampart. Chapters 12 and 13. Lyria. Lyria and her bitter travel companions search the asteroid belt for Quicksilver's laboratory. On one asteroid, they find a group of Greens who have died from a biological weapon attack. As they return to their deep space racer, the Snowball, they are ambushed by Dustwalkers, a powerful tribe. Their ship is destroyed. Suddenly, an obelisk rises from the asteroid. It casts a light that knocks Lyria unconscious. She wakes to find herself floating above the asteroid as a machine communicates with the parasite inside her head. Later, Lyria wakes again to find her injuries treated. Leaving her room, she meets Matteo Sun, the husband of Quicksilver, or Regulus. Matteo explains that the parasite in her head is a powerful artificial intelligence created by Sun Industries. He offers her two choices: fix the AI or remove it entirely. When she learns that fixing it may impair her memories of family, she chooses removal, saying she would rather die than forget them. As Lyria prepares for surgery, Matteo explains that they will not re-enter the fight, but he admits Darrow might be able to change Quicksilver's mind. Chapter 14. Virginia. Virginia receives word that Lyria is at the secret Sun Industries location. She immediately sends a fleet of soldiers to retrieve her. She speaks with Cavax, who is ready for the Society's impending attack. Virginia, however, feels unprepared. Together they visit Pax, who is enrolled in the Darkstar Conservatory. Cavax voices concern about Virginia's mysterious source of information. Pax comes out, saluting instead of hugging his mother. He has changed, thinner from the accelerated program, with a shaved and tattooed head. He questions Virginia about news of Darrow, and whether she has pardoned Valdir. She has not. She tells him instead that Lyria has found Quicksilver's lab. Pax wants to go, arguing that emissaries cannot convince Quicksilver to help. Virginia refuses. She apologizes for handing Pax a legacy of war, and they share a heartfelt hug before he returns to the school. Feeling intense love for her son, Virginia finally feels prepared for battle. Chapters 15 through 17. Lysander. Now without the burn scar left by Darrow's boot, Lysander arrives on Earth. He is met by Ajax. They argue until Atlas joins them. Lysander notes the contrast between bulky Ajax and his lean, cold father. Atlas and Arja, two Olympic knights, were bred to create Ajax. After Atlas leaves, Ajax warns Lysander to kneel before Atalantia. He hands him Tharsis' severed head to carry. Lysander goes to Atalantia, who is presiding over a hunt. She works to strengthen alliances after offending the Carthii. She orders Lysander to attack Luna before the Society attacks Mars. Lysander argues this would damage ties with the Rim, but Atlas supports Atalantia. Striking Luna first strengthens their forces and delays Mars. The uncertainty over Mars also preserves Atalantia's political power. Atalantia summons Glirastes, naked, leashed like a dog. She warns Lysander that she will kill Glirastes if he disobeys. She strikes him and scolds him for sending forces to Apollonius, forcing him to kneel and apologize. He agrees to publicly support her at the upcoming meeting of the 200, the Council of Core Loyal Gold Families. That evening, Ajax visits Lysander. They activate a jam field, a sound-cancelling device to speak privately. Ajax does not believe Lysander's claim that Atalantia killed his parents. The summit begins. Attendants are briefed on Volsung Fa and the attack on the Venus dockyards. Diomedes reports, but Atalantia mocks him. His mother, Dido, stands to speak, grieving her lost husband and daughter. She accuses Atalantia of rebuilding cities and stacking spoils, while others pay the bill in blood and poverty. Dido presses Atalantia to attack Mars, but she refuses. Lysander stands. Atalantia tries to silence him, but an old rule allows interjections. He addresses the council, publicly disagreeing with her. He calls for Rim and Core goals to unite and prevent further conflict. He asserts Apollonius should lead the war on Mars, and reveals he has repaired the divide between the Carthii and Wrath. Restoring the Venus dockyards to the Carthii, Apollonius enters, seconding Lysander's proposals. Many members of the 200 agree. Atalantia does not block them, but declares that she and the Core Society forces will not participate. Afterward, Atalantia learns that Lysander knows of her role in his parents' deaths. Chapters 18 through 21. Virginia. Virginia rushes to meet Harnassus, Char, Thraxa, and Screwface, who have just arrived on Mars. Victra tells her that Darrow and Severo are alive. Char reports on the approaching armies. Exhausted but resolute, the 4 new arrivals declare they are ready to fight. The Republic forces on Mars prepare for war. In Lycos, Diana delivers a motivational speech. Soldiers perform the fading dirge, pounding their chests and smearing mud across their sigils. Thraxa leads the powerful Pegasus Legion, held in reserve for the decisive moment. Everyone departs for their stations. Victra commands the fleet over the North Pole. Niobe covers the south. Char defends the moon Phobos, while Virginia directs the battle from the nucleus. She is shaken when she sees the lightbringer among the enemy. The enemy ships circle Mars for hours, then release massive bombs on Victra's fleet. She survives, but half her ships are lost. Virginia sends Niobe and Char north to reinforce Victra. Chapter 22. Lysander. Before launching an iron rain, the Gold's mass invasion tactic on Phobos, Lysander gives his cloak to a red soldier, one of many piloting claw drills, 40-meter drilling machines used in the assault. Ajax tells him he will never forgive Atalantia for killing their parents. Lysander waits in the spit tube, a massive railgun that will fire his ship into the iron rain. He is terrified. He does not want to die. He does not want to be there. But he forces himself to suppress the fear. Chapter 23. Virginia. Lysander's forces attack Phobos, sacrificing smaller ships to push closer to the Martian moon. Virginia orders the shield disabled to prevent overload. Soldiers and claw drills rain down on Phobos. She commands a fleet to intercept the drills before they breach the surface. She then orders engineers to enter an irradiated zone to restore the shield, a mission that will kill them. Cavax departs to join the battle, leaving his anxious fox, Sophocles, behind in the nucleus. Chapter 24. Lysander. Lysander falls through the iron rain, making it safely past the clouds of debris. He lands on the surface, locates his claw drill, and watches it rip through an inhabited apartment complex. Soon after, he finds Ajax and Roan. Chapters 25 through 27. Virginia. Virginia wears a prism device that shows her multiple perspectives of the battle. Though she offers input, most orders are carried out by her officers. She spots Ajax and sends 1,000 Lion Guard soldiers to intercept him. Soon, she receives word that Diomedes is also on Phobos. At first, the Republic seems to have the advantage, but momentum shifts as the society pushes back. Apollonius's fleet attacks, and Cavax goes silent. Virginia orders a retreat, but refuses to evacuate herself. She keeps giving battle commands until Apollonius hijacks Cavax's comms. She orders evacuation of the nucleus, but his drop shaft has been destroyed. The enemy begins drilling into the structure, raising the heat and burning the unarmored inside. Virginia and others escape, but are quickly surrounded. She rallies them to stand together against fractured society forces. Virginia and her group flee Apollonius's men, hiding in a recreation room. Holiday joins them with updates, including news that Cavax is alive but captured. Over the intercom, Cicero calls on Virginia to surrender. She leads her fighters out, only to discover Apollonius has set a trap. She plans to capture him to trade for Cavax. For a brief moment, they ensnare him with a net, but he breaks free. Virginia and her surviving soldiers retreat. Apollonius pursues. Moving through the sanitation system, Virginia separates from her guards to free Valdir. When he hears Darrow is alive, Valdir pledges his loyalty. Together they free other Obsidians, who arm themselves and charge into battle. Virginia listens as the Obsidians clash with Apollonius's forces, reflecting on Darrow's psychological approach to war. They suffer heavy losses, and Apollonius escapes. Valdir warns they cannot win another fight. Rejoining the Lion Guard, Virginia and her remaining survivors escape through a fertilizer plant. Chapter 28. Lysander. Lysander feels satisfied with the battle's progress. Kyber shoots a medicus treating Ajax, correctly identifying him as a suicide bomber. Victra and her forces arrive to defend Phobos. Lysander calls for Cicero's reinforcements, but Cicero refuses, choosing instead to continue pursuing Virginia. Ajax and his soldiers depart to face Victra. Chapter 29. Virginia. As Virginia and her fighters advance, she notices the Obsidians seem to revel in combat. Valdir explains that morning comes later. For now, they honor their companions because they had a good death. Screwface finds them, reporting that Victra has deployed the Pegasus Legion on Phobos. Valdir agrees to fight alongside Screwface as a Howler, but insists the Obsidians first receive medical treatment. Chapter 30. Lysander. Lysander meets with Diomedes. Together they receive word that Ajax has been killed. Lysander forces himself to watch footage of Victra cutting Ajax down. He notes the cold, dispassionate way they whittle his brother apart. Diomedes believes the battle is lost. Roan counters. They are not defeated. They are only at war. Virginia tends the wounded every day during the fighting on Phobos. When soldiers die holding her hand, whispering Darrow's name and saying they will find peace in the Vale, she breaks a little more each time. Yet in that breaking she grows stronger, More desperate to protect the idea, her husband awakened. After 12 days, Victra arrives with Cicero as a prisoner, along with Ajax's severed head. Virginia meets Lysander for a parley. They discuss Darrow and the ongoing battle. Lysander offers a deal. The Republic may flee Phobos and return to Mars if Virginia peacefully concedes Phobos, which will be handed to Apollonius. He also demands the oracles. They agree to trade Cavax and Cicero. Virginia returns and delivers the terms of surrender. Many, including Thraxa, are outraged, but Virginia argues that Lysander will be easier to defeat than Atalantia. The mood lifts when Cavax is wheeled in. Chapter 33, Lysander. A red soldier returns Lysander's cloak. Lysander honors the fighters, but refuses honors for himself. Together they destroy a monument to Darrow. The society forces celebrate. Lysander outlines his plan to attack Mars in a few days, describing his vision of a more stable and fair society. Later, he wanders through a garden and encounters Diomedes. Suddenly, Lysander realizes he has been poisoned with the lament. His eyes begin to bleed, and waves of pain rack his body. Chapter 34, Virginia. Virginia speaks to Darrow over hologram. She first asks about Pax, then confirms his identity through their prearranged tests. They exchange updates. Virginia urges him not to return to Mars, but instead to go to Quicksilver, to secure more forces for the battle ahead. Darrow agrees, regretting that he ignored her advice not to go to Mercury in the first place. Chapter 35, Darrow. Virginia updates Darrow, Cassius, and Severo about Quicksilver's laboratory and about Lyria. Severo asks to see Victra and their baby, but Victra is not with Virginia. Furious, he storms out. Virginia then offers Cassius the position of mourning knight for the Republic. He accepts. Cassius leaves Darrow alone with her. Virginia asks Darrow not to pursue Volsung Fa in the Rim. Darrow tells her about Athena, but Virginia fears the daughters of Ares will never forgive him for giving up the names of sons of Ares in the Rim. Their connection is cut, the line compromised. On the Archimedes, the mood grows heavy after the call. Chapter 36, Lysander. Despite Roan's objections, Lysander is woken to speak with Diomedes. He learns why the Rim fleets are departing. Volsung Fa is attacking Ilium in the Rim. Diomedes urges him to come, to reinforce the alliance between Rim and Core Golds. Still poisoned by the lament and wearing a leech filter to cleanse his blood, Lysander summons an impromptu council. He informs Lady Bellona and Apollonius of his plans. He will go to aid the Rim, while they hold position over Mars. Lysander and a unit of Praetorians will travel aboard the Dustmaker, commanded by Helios. Part 3, Tempest. Chapters 37 through 39, Darrow. The Archimedes arrives at the asteroid housing Quicksilver's laboratory. Darrow reflects on the eerie distance from the sun, feeling as though life itself has forgotten him. Speaking with Cassius, he defends his trust in Virginia. He draws on insight from the path to the veil and keeps himself sharp with training, studying, and writing. Through the comms, Matteo greets Darrow, teasing him about his beard. Darrow then checks on Severo, who has isolated himself. Severo has built a new weapon, naming it Abomination after Adrius's clone. He ignores Darrow's questions and returns to his work. Darrow leaves him alone. Later, Darrow and Matteo meet. Matteo grieves for Theodora, Orion, and Dancer, delivering a quiet eulogy. Severo interrupts, and Matteo leads them both to Quicksilver, who has long been watching Darrow through a telescope. Darrow asks for military support. Quicksilver refuses. He explains that he and Matteo use their wealth to build Tabula Rasa, a space-based community populated with isolated Homo sapiens. Upset, Severo walks away. Darrow walks with Quicksilver in the gardens of Tabula Rasa. The colony has not yet launched, as they wait for the Rim Shadow Armada to move far enough away. Quicksilver confesses that in his youth, he abandoned his own family to save himself. He now views the humans of Tabula Rasa as his children. To protect them from contamination by the color hierarchy, he will never meet them, believing that all of them, including himself, are already tainted. Quicksilver also reveals he banished the man who killed his family into space and will one day pass that ship. Darrow advises him to destroy it when he does. Darrow requests help in the form of information and resources. Using Quicksilver's telescope, he learns Mars is not under immediate threat. Lysander and the Rim forces are returning to Jupiter's moons. The crew of the Archimedes forms a new plan. Travel to Jupiter's moons to meet the daughters of Ares. With Volsung Fa attacking the region, Darrow hopes to use the chaos as cover. Others worry about Athena's anger, since Darrow gave up the names of sons of Ares in the Rim. Darrow insists Severo deserves to go home. Chapter 40. Lyria. Recovered from her surgery, Lyria undergoes a final health test. Matteo gives her the parasite and allows her to destroy it. He tells her Darrow has arrived. Meeting him in person, she realizes how different he seems up close. It is far easier to criticize him from afar, but in person, she feels the immense weight of his experiences. Lyria declares she wants to go to the Rim to find Volga. Darrow refuses. The next morning, Matteo wakes her and leads her to an autopiloted ship bound for Mars, meant to carry her and Severo. On the way, she apologizes to Severo about Ulysses, revealing, unintentionally, that he had not known. She tells him she was with Victra during childbirth and that the Red Hand killed his son. Crushed, Severo gives Lyria a recorded message for Virginia and leaves. Lyria places the message aboard the Mars-bound ship, then secretly stows away on the Archimedes. Chapter 41. Darrow. Darrow prepares to depart. He is healed, the Archimedes is repaired, and he now carries advanced armor, Godkiller Mark I. At their farewell, Quicksilver refuses to shake Cassius's hand. After Cassius leaves, Quicksilver questions whether Cassius will be able to handle Lysander's death. Quicksilver gives Darrow Fitchner's first helmet, the Twilight Helm, and his own golden ring. As Darrow says his goodbyes to Quicksilver and Matteo, Severo, wearing his old Warhawk haircut, boards the ship. Chapter 42. Lyria. Lyria sneaks from her hiding place aboard the Archimedes. She finds food left out and bypasses the fresh supplies, choosing pre-packaged meals and water. Her resolve falters when she reaches for ham. At that moment, Severo traps her. The others arrive. Severo frees her and stalks off. Lyria insists she will continue her search for Volga. Cassius and Ori defend her, and Cassius agrees to put her to work. Lyria and Darrow agree. She will obey his orders, but she may take any chance to reach Volga. Ori takes her to the showers, then to a cabin. Cassius brings her fresh clothes and asks for her call sign. She replies Truffle Pig, which makes him laugh uncontrollably. Chapters 43 through 45. Lysander. During their voyage to the Rim, Diomedes invites Lysander aboard the Dustmaker. Lysander hands over his razor and joins him on the bridge, Together they visit Helios's office to eat. Diomedes updates him, explaining that Helios has gone dark to infiltrate Volsungfar's forces. Lysander recalls Octavia's lessons about the brutal Ascomani, lethal obsidian descendants. They discuss the Garter on Io, where food is cultivated in the otherwise inhospitable rim, and review battle plans. Diomedes insists Lysander must remain aboard the Dustmaker when they arrive. When the ship reaches the rim, an injured and exhausted Helios boards. After exchanging codes with Diomedes, something feels wrong. Diomedes asks another coded question. Helios answers incorrectly. Diomedes rips back his sleeve, revealing body parts surgically grafted. The imposter and his allies attack. Diomedes is trapped in strange black material, while Lysander is injected with a poison that brings searing pain. The imposter calls Volsungfar. Lysander realizes the truth. It is Atlas, who has posed as Helios and manipulated the Ascomani. Still in disguise, Atlas contacts Dido and destroys her fleet, killing her. Wearing his leech, Lysander begins to recover from the poison. The Rim forces attack the Dustmaker, but a hidden Ascomani fleet joins Atlas, annihilating the Rim. Their ships refuse to retreat, choosing to die in battle. Barely able to move, Diomedes shoves Lysander into an escape pod. He cannot follow. Lysander's Praetorians, including Roan, reveal themselves as undercover Gorgons. Chapter 46, Darrow. The Archimedes discovers the wreckage of Atlas's ambush. Severo laughs at the carnage, but Darrow feels only dread at the Ascomani's strength. He asks Cassius to fly them deeper through the debris. They find a scene so horrific that Darrow describes it as a sight so inhumane, it puts lead in his guts. He feels guilty, remembering when he once led Obsidians who committed massacres. They intercept a message from Athena, triggering a contingency plan. Ore explains that they must infiltrate Sungrave, home of the Ra family. They also find Diomedes among the survivors, retrieve him, and tend his wounds. Severo pushes to torture him, but Cassius refuses, declaring no torture will occur aboard the Archimedes, especially since Diomedes once saved his life. Ore adds that Diomedes has been conditioned to endure torture. As they continue toward Jupiter's moons, Severo taunts Darrow, accusing him of jealousy toward the Ascomani's strength. Darrow admits his confusion over such total devastation. Severo counters that honor, if it ever existed, was the first casualty. Chapter 47, Lysander. Roan visits Lysander, sharing his past when he went by the name Fleabite. He recounts sacrifices made for the Loon family. Lysander realizes it was Roan who poisoned him with the lament, though Roan never intended his death. Lysander is taken to Atlas. Helios's body parts have been surgically removed from the imposter. Atlas orders a Yellow to kill the real Helios. Atlas recounts his long game, befriending Volsungfar, manipulating the Ascomani for 12 years, uniting their tribes, then steering their violence toward the Obsidians, who hold advanced technology he covets. Atlas offers Lysander a role. Instead of Atalantia, Lysander will appear as the savior who defeats the Ascomani. At first, Lysander refuses, but Atlas threatens to kill him and use his body parts to make a double. Atlas insists he acts as a tool for the society, doing what is required to preserve it. Under pressure, Lysander agrees to ally with him. Chapter 48, Darrow. Lyria panics and wakes Darrow. Severo is torturing Diomedes. Cassius rushes in as well, ordering Lyria to trigger the fire protocol, unlocking the cell. Severo stops, but tensions explode. Cassius confronts him. The two exchange bitter words and fists. Sevro mocks Cassius for his past, supporting the society, backing Lysander and killing Fitchner. Lyria pleads for Darrow to stop them. Cassius strikes Sevro and blurts out something about failing Victra. When Lyria intervenes, she is struck and knocked unconscious. Cassius scoops her up and runs her to the medical bay. Left with Sevro, Darrow listens as he confesses about Ulysses. Sevro insists he cannot live a normal life. He must remain the goblin. Darrow cuts him off, refusing sympathy. He tells Sevro he has already done good, but warns that either he starts cooperating or Darrow will send him home. Chapters 49 and 50. Lysander. Disguised as an obsidian, Lysander accompanies Atlas to meet Volsung Fa. Along the way, he is disturbed to see enslaved people transported like cattle. He mentions destroying the garter, food source of the rim. Atlas disagrees, arguing that without a dependable source of food, there can be no civilization. Fa arrives, bringing a dragon that is slaughtered for celebration. Relaxed and unarmed, Fa jokes with Atlas about using religion to control both Ascomani and Obsidians, mocking the very idea of a soul. He brings out his surviving family. Lysander suggests marrying Diomedes' young sister once she comes of age, quietly angling to spare her life. Fa is pleased. He believes he need only remain in power for 3 more weeks, until Lysander stages his defeat. Afterward, Fa will enjoy retirement with his daughter Volga. Fa has deceived Volga about his intentions. Lysander doubts she will forgive him, but Fa is confident she will understand and love him more when she sees the sacrifice he made. The plan continues. Lysander will reclaim the Garter, winning Rim loyalty, then lead the Rim forces against the Ascomani. Fa's death will be faked. Millions of civilians will die, but Atlas argues that intense violence will buy longer peace. He even lets Lysander pick a moon to spare. Lysander chooses Ganymede, the most populous. Atlas then reveals another scheme: to steal a biological weapon, Idme, capable of targeting and wiping out entire colors. He also insists he will not kill his mother, Gaia, who remains their prisoner. Chapters 51 through 56. Darrow. The Archimedes arrives at Io, destroyed except for the Garter. To avoid detection, they land far from Sungrave. Darrow and Sevro don their godkiller armor and depart. As he surveys the devastation, Darrow struggles with the idea of the Rim as an enemy and wonders why the sight makes him want to weep. Inside Sungrave, deserted and hollow, Darrow and Sevro are joined by Ore, Cassius, and, unexpectedly, Diomedes. Ore defends Cassius's decision to bring him, arguing that the big soldier is gentle and will swear parole if allowed to search for surviving family. Darrow concedes. They discover the severed head of Abraxas, the dragon killed by the Ascomani. Splitting from the group, Darrow consoles Diomedes and offers help. As they search, Ore locates the Omega Torch and signals the daughters of Ares. Darrow finds Diomedes with the headless bodies of his brothers. Diomedes asks why Darrow hasn't killed him. Darrow answers that war is not about killing every enemy. It's about finding peace with the least possible violence. He suggests they could be allies. Sevro calls, reporting contact with Athena. Darrow suspects the Ascomani's uncanny foresight. Fa seemed to know the Rim would be undefended. Cassius then calls, spotting Obsidians enslaving civilians. Darrow orders him to wait and ask Sevro for help, but Sevro refuses. Darrow goes himself, calling Lyria to bring the ship. Darrow arrives just as Cassius launches the Pella maneuver, a tactic Darrow once taught the Obsidians. They counter it easily. Darrow joins the battle, narrowly saving Bad Lass. Cassius is impressed and tells him he's a menace to savage and civilized alike. Darrow grins, exhilarated by the flow of combat. They free the civilians, but more Obsidians approach. A swarm led by Jarl Skard arrives. Darrow reveals himself, knowing the Obsidians see him as a demigod. He condemns them for abandoning the Republic, warning that guilt corrodes confidence. Skeptical, some attack. Darrow defeats them swiftly, convincing Skarda he is Tir Morga. Skarda urges him to leave. His son Sigurd protests Far's rule, but the argument halts when an attack interrupts. The daughters of Ares descend, clashing with the Obsidians. Darrow captures Skarda, but the fighters ignore his ransom plea. Lyria brings the Archimedes for cover. Rather than killing, Darrow uses Skard to send a challenge to Far. On board, he is surprised to find Diomedes returned, manning the guns. Sigurd also boards, offering to fight Far. They cuff him for safety. Darrow meets Chaon, a daughter of Ares, who explains that Athena now rules the deep, Europa's vast underwater cities. Chapters 57 and 58. Lyria. Lyria questions Sigurd about Volga. He says Volga follows Far and commands a fleet. Lyria denies it, insisting Volga would never help with this. Passing through rescued civilians, she thinks of her nephew Liam. Later, Sevro joins her, speaking of the Leviathan Syraxes. Lyria admits she tried to save Pax and Electra after their abduction. She tells Sevro she helped deliver Ulysses and cared for his body after his murder. She insists Volga would have done anything to save him. Sevro says he wants no part of the Sons of Ares. He saw what that role did to his father. They land on Europa. Cassius teases Lyria for not cleaning the latrines and declares he will not join them in the deep. He calls her reckless for chasing Volga, but asks her to come to him before making decisions. She praises his choice to save civilians on Io. Lyria joins the others, eager to meet Chaon after watching her fight. In a submarine, they descend. Lyria holds Ore's hand. As the city approaches, Lyria notices chains and shouts a warning. Sevro panics. Lyria grabs a gun but is subdued. Chaon condemns Darrow for betraying the Sons of Ares. Athena enters, fires Chaon, and Lyria lashes out at Ore for lying. Chapters 59 through 62. Darrow. Darrow wakes in a room with Athena and first asks after Sevro and Lyria. Both are safe. He chooses not to resist, saying nothing about struggle because he senses danger in the air. He quotes from The Path to the Veil. Athena rejects the red label and tells him he will stand trial and, if found guilty, be executed. She gives him a holocube and the key taken from him. Left alone, Darrow rages, then calms. He watches footage of Sons of Ares executed, many shouting his name before death, and reflects on their lost potential. The trial begins. Draped in a gold cloak, he enters with Ore, who urges him to show humility. Athena presents the charges. Darrow pleads guilty to all. He does not apologize. He argues he became the Reaper because he believes in freedom. He admits to fear and immaturity, but now understands he was never alone. He calls for unity between the Republic, the daughters, and Diomedes, asking not for forgiveness, but for the fight to continue. Next, Diomedes stands trial. He denounces the High Colours and declares that the oppressed deserve their due. Awaiting the verdict, Darrow and Diomedes sit in a cell with Cassius, captured during a failed rescue. Diomedes tells them of Helios's impostor and suspects Atlas. Darrow agrees, concluding that Atlas will use Lysander to posture as a hero. Cassius and Diomedes dismiss the idea, insisting they saw Lysander's shock. They speculate he may already be dead. The group is brought to a war room with Ori and Athena to discuss Atlas. Sevro arrives, wearing Ares' helm. He has spoken on behalf of Darrow and Diomedes, reminding everyone how Fitchner was broken and died too soon, leaving Darrow and Sevro unready to lead. They plan their strike on Friday. Darrow has already challenged him to an Ashvar, a duel of honor. Athena agrees to commute their sentences and grant refuge for Europa's civilians. Darrow swears on Pax's name to return for sentencing. Athena then tells Diomedes that Ore once assured them he would be a fair ruler, not a tyrant. They now want him to become their visionary. Chapter 63, Lyria. Excluded from the war planning, Lyria steals a uniform and tricks guards to reach Darrow, but Sevro catches her. Hours later, Darrow visits. She offers help. At first, he dismisses her with a patronizing reply, but she convinces him. Because she's close to Volga, she can be an asset. She insists Volga is good but manipulated. Sevro surprisingly supports her, saying either the plan works or Lyria dies, and they are not inconvenienced. Chapter 64, Lysander. Lysander and his Praetorians, portrayed as survivors, board the lightbringer, newly arrived in the Rim. Cicero and Pallas expect to depart for Mars. Instead, Lysander delivers an impassioned address, arguing they should remain, destroy Far, and restore peace. Later with Pyther, he resolves to confess the truth but cannot bring himself to do it. Shame holds his tongue. He breaks down in tears. Pyther comforts him. Chapters 65 through 70, Lyria. Lyria departs with Sigurd, carrying Darrow's message for Volga. Cassius intercepts her, walking her to the surface of Europa. He warns her not to get caught. They hold hands until they part. As she moves away, she spots a shadow but is too far to warn Cassius. A huge fighter erupts from the water, killing many before vanishing. Sigurd calls it a harbinger and warns more may come. They follow Cassius amid chaos. Lyria is blasted by an explosion, trampled, and then pulls herself free. She reunites with Sigurd and Cassius. The shield around Hercalion fails. Landers descend. Sigurd urges Cassius to leave. His armor will draw attention. Cassius reluctantly goes, kissing Lyria's head. Sigurd then makes Lyria act as his prisoner when they encounter Ascomani. Allies Gudmund and Fenrir intervene, taking Lyria instead and promising to deliver her to Volga. Sigurd departs. Gudmund and Fenrir, with Lyria bound, board a warship. Fenrir explains that Far hunts the Leviathan Syraxes. Lyria is herded with enslaved Reds, collared. Exhausted, she sleeps, waking to Volga, listening to Darrow's message. In the Holocube, Sevro explains Ragnar and Atlas, urging Volga to ally and become queen of the Volg. Lyria pleads with Volga, but Volga refuses. She claims Far has opened her eyes, denies Atlas's role, and defends Far's killing of Ephraim. Bitter, she declares her loyalty. Lyria recognizes a familiar bitterness in herself and rejects it, deciding it would be better to die than to let that poison define her. Volga executes Gudmund and Fenrir, then consigns Lyria to Far. Nicator, an enslaved Red, escorts her to the Nixian Isles and explains Far's new hierarchy, dividing people into bands. The two men belong to the fourth band, fourth from Far's favor. Brought before Far, Lyria warns the Obsidians that Atlas controls him. They ignore her. Volga tries to protect her, calling her enslaved and a friend. Far refuses, until shamans announce Syraxis has been captured. Lyria watches in horror as Far kills the Leviathan and feels ashamed even to witness it. Far orders Volga to prove loyalty by killing captives, Sigurd and Lyria included. Volga dons a gauntlet and rips out hearts. She stops at Lyria, hesitating. Terrified, Lyria appeals to her by naming her as Ephraim's daughter. At that moment, Darrow bursts from the body of the Leviathan. Chapters 71 through 74. Darrow. Darrow emerges with Cassius and Sevro, who were also hidden in Syraxis. He reasserts his Ashvar challenge. Far refuses. Skard intervenes, declaring Darrow is accepted among the Obsidians. More voices join, and Far concedes. Darrow dons Godkiller armor, wielding Bad Lass and Athena's Perforos. Cassius advises him to keep his feet and fight like a razor master, not a showy acrobat. Far, armored and armed with a warsaw, paints himself for battle. Darrow offers him a chance to confess. Far refuses. They fight. Far counters Darrow's Will-O-Way technique, injuring him. Darrow knows Far's weapons are poisoned, but Athena's blood leech shields him, even as weakness creeps in. Then Darrow finds a new flow, inspired by the deep mine wind of Mars. His style shifts, momentum turns, and he presses Far to confess. Confidence surges as Far retreats. Cassius urges him to finish it quickly, telling him to stop toying with his opponent. The crowd takes up Darrow's demand for confession. Volga turns away from Far. He lunges at her. Lyria steps between them. Cassius strikes Far from behind. Volga seizes Lyria and flees. Far escapes as Obsidians kill his loyalists. Darrow, Sevro, and Cassius give chase. Sevro reminds them their survival depends on Diomedes. Darrow wonders if his trust is misplaced, but Athena and Diomedes keep their word. Across the islands, Far flees. Obsidians refuse to aid him. Chapter 75. Lyria. Dragged by Volga, Lyria struggles to break free, fearing the Obsidians will kill her. She shouts at Volga, forcing her to confront what she's done. At last, Volga agrees. She will return to her people. Chapter 76. Darrow. Far reaches the last island. Darrow, Cassius, and Sevro pursue. Diomedes is en route. Cornered, Far begs and bargains. Darrow refuses. Observing him closely, he concludes that Far has been made into a tool by Atlas. He offers mercy if Far confesses. Far admits his true name, Vagnar, and that he worked for Atlas all along. Skard and others arrive. Far urges Skard to kill him and claim kingship. Instead, Darrow calls Volga and hands her the gauntlet. She executes Far. Sevro addresses the Obsidians, announcing elections to come. Together with Athena, Diomedes, and Cassius, they reclaim the Pandora. Sevro breaks the tension with a simple command to clear the ship of enemies. Part 4. Brothers. Chapters 77 and 78. Darrow. Darrow, sore from battle wounds, wanders Harmonia with Cassius, the former home of Lorn Au Arcos. In Lorn's room, Darrow studies old photographs. Together, he and Cassius shave their beards. Darrow prays to Lorn, apologizing for Alexander's death. Cassius admits Sevro told him the truth. He recalls stories he has heard about Darrow, including the Institute incident with Pax, and even an asteroid cantina retelling years later in a rambling lecture on leadership. Darrow praises Cassius's growing selflessness. Lyria calls in. Cassius jokes about changing her call sign from Truffle Pig to Eaglet 1. Darrow notes privately that Cassius acts like a 12-year-old around her. Volga approaches Darrow, frustrated that the folk want her as queen. Darrow tells her she has the qualities of a strong leader. He suggests the Republic will offer amnesty if the folk fight on Mars. He offers friendship and urges her to ally with Diomedes and Athena. Lyria descends from the ship, bowing before Volga, now elected queen. Over comms, Sevro reports her crowning. Volga destroyed Far's throne, cut her valor tail, and declared she was going to Mars, asking, not demanding, her people to follow. She freed all captives. Later, Darrow drinks coffee with Cassius. Cassius confides he once had feelings for Ore, though he knows she loves Diomedes. They watch for Ascomani, most of whom have fled. They discuss Lyria. Cassius wonders if he should join Volga as her razor master. In a rare moment of emotion, Darrow and Cassius thank each other and affirm their brotherhood. They reflect on Darrow's new fighting style, which he names Breath of Stone. Suddenly, the Archimedes is surrounded by Ascomani and core ships, led by the Lightbringer. Chapter 79, Lysander. Lysander stages a dramatic iron rain on Io, targeting the Ascomani. He credits their disorganization to Atlas and Afar. The core forces easily crush them. To him, the war looks unusually glamorous and tidy. He orders Praetorians to prioritize civilians. With Cicero, he travels to a command center, learning Gaia still lives. Roan scolds the Praetorians for their behavior. Together, he and Lysander go to the Arbor of Akari, freeing Gaia and others once imprisoned by Far. Gaia vows to fight beside him. Chapter 80, Darrow. Aboard ship, Darrow and his allies watch Lysander's broadcast. Darrow seethes at the propaganda, finding it slick and stirring. Lysander publicly challenges Far. Darrow insists he must kill Lysander. Cassius urges calm. Diomedes warns they are not ready to face the core. Cassius notes Lysander's power depends on his reputation. Chapter 81, Lysander. On the eve of battle, Rim and core fighters confess their fears in ritual. Lysander admits he fears division and endless war. As he speaks, Diomedes approaches. He embraces Gaia, his grandmother, and credits Lysander for his survival. He reveals he escaped from enslavement after seeing Lysander's message to Io. To honor him, he asks Lysander to bear the shield of Akari and leads him to a shrine. Lysander leaves his guards outside. Alone with Diomedes, he is confronted about Atlas. Diomedes offers his help, then brings him to Darrow, waiting on a bench. Chapter 82, Darrow. Shocked, Darrow leaps up at the sight of Lysander, fearing betrayal. Diomedes explains. He has brought them together to strike at Atlas and shows them Far's severed head. Lysander and Darrow trade threats. Diomedes interjects, warning that vengeance only breeds more violence and insisting that war's purpose cannot be the extermination of every enemy. He demands both unite. He urges them to take time to consider, then meet again on Nival Night, the first snowfall, at the House of Bounty. Darrow and Diomedes depart, but when Darrow calls for Cassius, he does not answer. Realization dawns. Cassius has gone to Lysander. Before they can react, Gaia and a band of dustwalkers surround Darrow and Diomedes. Chapters 83 and 84, Lysander. Lysander returns without the shield of Akari, saying he has not earned it. Guards escort him to his room, where Cassius waits, smuggled in by Pyther. Cassius offers to help. They speak of Ares' helmet, which Lysander possesses, and of their past. Cassius recalls his dead twin, Julian, and apologizes for pressuring Lysander to be like him. Lysander forgives him. Cassius urges Lysander to accept Diomedes' offer. Lysander refuses. He will not risk betraying Atlas. Pyther joins, pledging her help. Lysander argues Roan must be killed too. Later, in the hangar, Lysander waits with guards for Atlas's arrival. Cassius hides. A jam field precedes Atlas's careful entrance. Atlas is unarmed, carrying a bag. Roan, however, is heavily armed. Atlas questions Lysander's presence. Lysander informs him of Diomedes' arrival and Far's death, news Atlas already knows. He lies, claiming he told Darrow about Idme. Without Pyther's signal, Lysander attacks. Cassius joins. Lysander battles Roan, punctured lung, face slashed, yet kills him. Cassius duels Atlas. Both are wounded. Cassius subdues him. Atlas begins revealing Idme, but Lysander kills him. Lysander urges Cassius to flee. Cassius refuses. He questions Idme, noticing Lysander has Atlas's bag. Lysander admits he used Cassius to steal it. Cassius attacks. Lysander kills him swiftly. Bloodied, Lysander stumbles from the hangar, feigning an ambush by Diomedes and Dustwalkers. Kyber agrees to kill the remaining guards, pinning their deaths on Diomedes, and to recover the hidden bag. Chapters 85 through 87. Darrow. Darrow, awaiting Nival Night, worries for Cassius. He meets Diomedes and Gaia. Gaia opposes her grandson's plan, demanding revenge on the Vulcan daughters. Darrow pushes back. Diomedes dismisses the guards and rebukes Gaia, declaring the Golds unworthy of rule. She is moved by his reminder that strength is not just of the arms. Nival Night arrives. Darrow waits at the House of Bounty, where the Rim Dominion votes for a new hegemon, Diomedes. Darrow presents Far's head, apologizes, and requests pardon. Diomedes announces alliance with Darrow. When lords protest, Gaia defends him. Diomedes also claims Lysander as ally. The summit halts. An incoming call. Lysander, wounded, appears. He shows Cassius's mutilated body. Darrow sees his beautiful, brave friend displayed like a butchered carcass and is devastated. Lysander blames the Ra and Darrow, vowing to crush obsidians and reclaim the Rim. Diomedes refuses to betray Darrow. Lysander cuts the feed, then destroys the garter. Chaos erupts. The House of Bounty crumbles. Darrow holds a broken statue to keep the door open, his shoulder shattered. He evacuates, carrying Gaia on his back. Chapter 88. Lysander. Lysander oversees the uprooting of the garter's trees. A Brown named Lucilla will manage Mercury's new agricultural system. He remarks that it is past time his house diversified its portfolio. Pallas sees through his lies. He spares her. She will smooth Cassius's death with Julia. Cicero mourns growers who refuse to abandon their trees. Lysander consoles him, insisting peace will come. He boards the stolen Archimedes, finding Pyther with Cassius's body. She vows to kill him if given the chance. He lets her leave with the ship, intending to use her later. Naming Kyber his new ducks, Lysander spots a fleet led by the Pandora. He chooses to ignore the Volk fleet, returning instead to Mercury. Alone, he withdraws Idme, debating whether to unleash it on Reds or on Golds. Chapter 89. Darrow. For 3 weeks, Darrow and allies shelter in a bunker. The Volk and daughters provide aid. Grieving, Darrow leans on Sevro. Sevro holds him hard, not humouring him, but clinging to him as well. He then lashes out at Diomedes and Gaia and storms off. Darrow, Diomedes, Athena, and Volga meet, forming an official pact. Weaker though they are, Darrow insists unity can defeat the society. They part, preparing for war. Afterward, Pytha boards the Pandora. Alone, Darrow visits the Archimedes, where Cassius's body lies clean and dressed. Sevro joins, bearing Fitchner's original helm. They enter Cassius's room, filled with mementos, and watch old footage from the Institute. Darrow sends word to Mars, and a silent message to his family. He is coming home.